Hi everyone, and welcome to day 4 of revisiting Beyond Asanas. Beyond Asanas is a book that I published in 2019, and every year on Yoga Day and in Yoga Month, I try to revisit it and try to see what else I can understand from it. Now, this book is still available on Amazon, so go ahead and grab a copy for yourself if you haven't done so already. And today we're going to be looking at chapter 4, and chapter 4 happens to be my favorite asana, which is the Trikonasana. Now, Trikon means three-sided. Tri means three, kon means sides. So Trikonasana literally translated is the three-sided asana, or the asana of the three sides. And even though Trikona means three-sided, it does represent a figure which is very balanced. Although the number 3 is an odd number, we think of an odd number as a number which is not balanced. We tend to think balance belongs to the more even numbers. But Trikonasana is actually, it's a depiction of balance, because each side in a triangle, in an equilateral triangle particularly, has to be equal for the whole figure to be in balance. For the whole figure to be an equilateral triangle, all three sides have to be equal. And if all three sides are equal, then fundamentally the figure is balanced. Like no side is longer than the other. It's a perfectly balanced asana. It's a perfectly balanced figure. Also structurally, if you have the three sides of a triangular structure equal, no side will be weaker than the other one. All of them will be able to bear the same amount of weight. So it's a very sturdy and a very sound figure. So in Trikonasana, we have to try to sort of depict this sense of stability and the sense of strength. And this idea of three is pervasive in cultures all across the world. So for instance, in India, in Hindu mythology, you have the Trimurti, or the Trinity, you can say, of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. And in Western, like in Christianity, you have the Trinity, the Holy Trinity of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So it's something that's pervasive in all cultures, and the number 3 is very significant in all cultures. And the Trikonasana just sort of sheds light and sort of gives credit to this idea that something which is on its face value, it's like it has the number 3. It seems to be odd, it seems to be unbalanced, but it can actually be balanced. So I have in the book Beyond Asanas, I have taken 2 stories which depict Trikonasana, or which actually symbolize and depict a little bit of the symbolism of the Trikonasana. And the first story is called Distracting the Gods. Now, all of these stories are from Hindu mythology, and I found these stories just in stories that my grandparents have told me, or stories that I've come across during my studies. So I've collected these stories from various different places and collected them all in this book. So the first story is called Distracting the Gods, and it's about this buffalo, which actually happens to be a demon. And his name is Mahishasura, and he's a very famous, well-known, character in Hindu mythology. He's this demon who's been given a boon that he can never be killed. So he can do whatever he wants without worrying at all that anyone can kill him and end his life. And so he was taking the maximum advantage of this. And he was going around, he could control people's thoughts, and he was going around doing that. He was wreaking havoc on like all these sages who were just sitting around and meditating, who had been meditating for so many years, and he was forcing them to get distracted from their meditations, and years and centuries of tapasya was kind of coming to an end because of what he was doing. And so, it caused the world to sort of go off balance. And then the Trinity, the Hindu Trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva had to come together, and they had to figure out what to do about this. Because they were, they're in charge of the universe, and if the universe is in trouble, people would look to them to sort of give them a solution. Now, because Mahishasura had this boon granted to him that nobody could kill him, these guys put their heads together and they thought, well, a human being or someone of this world cannot kill him, but maybe if it's like an apparition, if it's like a ghost, maybe a ghost would not have to follow the same rules. Maybe a ghost would be allowed to kill him. And so these three, the Trinity, the Holy Trinity of Hinduism, they came together and they built this being called Mahamaya. Okay, Mahamaya literally means the great illusion. Maya means illusion and Maha means great. So they built this figure and called her the great illusion. And because she was just an illusion, she was able to actually battle with Mahishasura and kill him. And with that, the whole balance of the world was restored. Now, what this shows us is many things. One thing it shows is that, if you get together and think about problems, you're more likely to solve them. It also shows that whenever there is an issue, whenever there is a problem, there is always a solution to it. So we should keep looking for solutions to the problem. So in a lot of the versions of this particular story about Mahamaya, it's also, the story goes that Durga is the goddess that slays this Mahishasura. And Durga and Mahamaya, are the two characters, and they're both avatars of each other. So that also is, it actually is consistent with the story. And today the story is more relevant to me because I didn't know then, but I know now that Durga is also another name. Actually, Kalindi is another name for Durga, and Kalindi, as many of you know, is what I've named my daughter. So that's a little anecdote about why this story today is more relevant to me. Now, the second story that I've written about in my book is called A Fine Balance, and basically it's talking about the balance that Trikonasana depicts, and how if any side of the Trikonasana goes off balance, it becomes lesser or greater than the other sides, then it puts the whole figure off balance, off kilter. So this story depicts that. So the story goes that for the world to kind of stay in balance and to continue, everything has to be in a particular balance. So Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva are the Holy Trinity for Hinduism, and these are all equally powerful. So all of them are equally powerful and equally important. Many of you might know that Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the preserver, and Shiva is the destroyer. So we believe that for the world to continue like sort of spinning on its axis, and for the world to maintain its balance, the process of creation is as important as the process of destruction, because without destruction, there won't be creation will be in a state of imbalance, and there would be too much creation, too less destruction, or too much destruction and very less creation. So all three of these things have to be perfectly aligned, perfectly balanced. But because these three guys were equally powerful, there sometimes used to be ego clashes. And one day there was such a clash between Brahma and Vishnu, and both of them were discussing and arguing about who is the more powerful one. And Brahma said he's more powerful, Vishnu said that he's more powerful, and there was a huge argument. And finally Shiva had to intervene, and Shiva came in and he said, that there's no point in arguing like this. All of us are equal, and these guys still wanted to argue. So Shiva, what he does is he says, okay, let me try to put an end to this argument. And he creates this long pillar of fire. Okay, and he places it in front of Brahma and Vishnu and said, okay, one of you try to tell me where this pillar originates, and the other one try to tell me where it ends. And whoever does this first will be declared to be the more powerful and the more important one. And so both of them, both Vishnu and Brahma, they go off in different directions, trying to find either the base or the apex of this pillar. And Vishnu comes back and he says, well, I couldn't find it. I couldn't find the base of this pillar. And Brahma comes back and he lies and he says, well, I did, I found it. But Shiva, of course, knew that that's a lie. He knew that it was an eternal pillar, and he knew that nobody could find the the base or the apex of this pillar. And he got very angry at Brahma, and he said, look, we cannot live like this. We cannot have these arguments. If all of us want to live in peace, all of us need that space, and all of us need to be recognized as important as the other person. And so he sort of, called a truce between these two and went back. So this story basically shows us that what it means to live in harmony. Even if you are, there's always, whenever there's an imbalance, there's always like, an imbalance in the balance of powers also, so the powers, and whenever there's more power with one person, there's a tendency for an oppressed and oppressor kind of relationship to happen. And for that to prevent that, we must remember that all of us are equal. So that is what we get from the second story that I've mentioned in Beyond Asanas. And finally, lives. Each of the stories that I've mentioned in this book, I talk about like the significance and the symbolism of the different asanas. And for Trikonasana, and I really like talking about this, and I frequently talk about it in my classes and with anyone else who listen to me, is that in Trikonasana, the three times, the phases of time, the past, present, and future, they sort of converge in the body. I think this is something that I read in one of B.K. Iyengar's books, but he talks about how the back leg in Trikonasana represents our past. The front leg and the front arm represent our future, so you're reaching towards the future. And the hip represents the present moment. And so whenever we do Trikonasana, and in Iyengar Yoga, we're constantly saying that, you have to ground the back foot, because the symbolism is that if you hope to exist peacefully now, and if you hope to have a successful future, you have to remember where you're coming from. There has to be that you're grounded very well in the past when you reach for the future. And similarly, the present moment, it rests between the past and the future. And if you're focusing too much on the past, we always say, try to maintain a balance between the front leg and the back leg. If you ground too much on the back leg, you tend to tilt backwards, so thinking about the past. If you reach too far forward, you ground too much on the front leg, and then you're always thinking about the future. But the idea is to balance the past and the future, and make sure your present is aligned, is in that state of balance. So I really like the Trikonasana, because of this symbolism. I like it because it is a symbol of power, of stability, of strength. And I think it's a very beautiful posture. And once you understand it like this, then you can practice it, in a more holistic way on the mat. And that is how we connect the symbolism and, what you can learn about the asanas to what you're doing on the mat. And that's what this book, Beyond Asanas, is all about. And to end this live, I'd like to read out from the book. In the book, I have these boxes which talk about the gist of the symbolism of each asana that I've spoken about. So for Trikonasana, I've written, the ability to withstand pressure and the strength to retain its original shape are the qualities of a triangle, which we must meditate upon when we practice this pose. In the Trikonasana, the yogi's mind, body, and spirit, once again a trinity, become one. So I really like, this really resonates with me, and perhaps that's why I've put it in the book. The Trikonasana is basically about staying in the present moment, about giving the past and the present due credit, not living in the past nor thinking too much about the future, but trying to maintain a balance between the two. So so I hope you've enjoyed this live. If you have any questions, let me know. You can send me an email, or you can just drop me a comment. And once again, this is the book. It's called Beyond Asanas, and it is available on Amazon. If you have questions about anything in the book, don't hesitate to ping me about it. So thank you everyone for joining, and I will see you again probably tomorrow for chapter 5 of Beyond Asanas. Thank you.